Hey everybody, I hope you guys are healthy and safe. So I have here the Google Pixel Fold. I am very excited about this device. So this video is not going to be a conventional review or even hands-on. Instead, this video is going to be a combination of my thoughts of the Pixel Fold after using it for a couple of days, and also how it compares against other foldables on the market, including like the Huawei Mate X3. So what I'm about to say may come off a little bit cocky or arrogant, but I think it's true. I think of all the English reviewers out there, I may have tested the most foldables, because I lived in Hong Kong where we got all the phones and also all the obscure phones. So I'm not just talking about like the Galaxy Folds and the Oppo Find N's and the Xiaomi Mix Fold. I also tested the Royal FlexPi 1 and 2, like the Techno Phantom X Fold. So I've tested virtually every foldable phone that has been mass released to the market. The only other person I can think of that may say they tested just as many foldables is Mr. Mobile and Michael Fisher, and maybe the guys at GSM Arena. If I'm forgetting anyone in Europe, I apologize, but generally speaking, I think I've tested more foldables than like 99% of other reviewers out there. And I think that matters because when I'm picking up the Pixel Fold, my view of this is how it compares against every other foldable phone on the market right now, not just how it compares against the Galaxy Z Fold 4. So the first thing I'm going to say about the Pixel Fold after using it is I actually like the hardware a lot, even though some of the complaints I have with the Samsung Galaxy Fold is still here. So the first thing you notice is that the left edge right here, it's a little bit thicker than the right edge. And this little corner, this is the hinge corner, it comes to a little point. I hold my phone with the left hand, so when I hold my phone, it's always digging into my palm. I have this exact same problem with the Galaxy Z Fold phones. The left edge is bigger, and then the corner digs into my palm. This is a problem that's been fixed in almost all Chinese foldables for the past like 2 or 3 or 4 years. I have the Huawei Mate X3 here, and you'll see that the left edge, it's almost completely symmetrical with the right edge, and the corners are rounded, so when I hold the phone, it does not dig into my palm as much. This feels a lot more like a normal phone in the hand than when I hold the Pixel Fold or the Galaxy Z Fold 4. I always can feel the hinge corner digging to my palm when I hold both of these phones. But I suppose the issue may be because I'm holding the phone left-handed. If I hold it with my right hand, then it's on the softer corner, then it will feel a lot better. The second thing is the Pixel Fold is really thin. Quite a bit thinner than the Fold 4, obviously, but then it is not the thinnest foldable on the market like Google's claiming, because here's the Mate X3. The Mate X3 is thinner. The Xiaomi Mix Fold 2, it's also thinner. I have the Mix Fold 2 in the room too. I just didn't bring it out here. I, have all the foldable phones. So anyway, despite my complaints that the hinge corner is pointy and the asymmetrical left and right bezels, I like the Pixel Fold's kind of dimensions and hardware more than the Galaxy Z Fold 4. Now this is going to be a matter of opinion. A lot of people actually like how the Z Fold 4, when it's folded, is so narrow you can type with one hand really easily. But I find the outside screen a little bit too cramped, particularly because I like to two-hand type a lot. I type very fast when I'm two-hand thumb typing, at least on most phones. Not on the Z Fold 4 because it's just a little bit cramped. I can two-hand type on a Pixel Fold very easily. And I really like the form factor when the screen opens. It's like a wider screen, and because this is a Google Pixel device, Gboard is very well supported on it. So you have split keyboard that'll split very nicely, and I find that I can pound away and type words very fast. The screen looks a lot better than my first impressions. I first got my hands on this phone at Google I/O, but it was like under harsh sunlight, and Google, it was using like a gray wallpaper. So the screen looked really dim and dull. Now that I'm indoors and I put on a live view wallpaper, the screen looks excellent. Although the crease is a little bit more noticeable than any other Chinese foldable. It's still better than the Z Fold 4's crease, but it is a little bit more noticeable. And here's the Mate X3. And like I said in the review video, this is the faintest crease of any foldable phone yet. You can still see the crease if you look at it at extreme angles, but you have to be pretty extreme like this. Otherwise, if it's a subtle shift, you don't really see the crease, which you definitely cannot say with the Galaxy Z Fold 4 or the Google Pixel Fold. Another thing about the Pixel Fold is I mostly like what they're doing with multitasking, but I think there's room for improvement. So I like that Google Pixel, basically, Twitter on Android look completely stupid in full screen, right? It's because Twitter is not optimized for like widescreen apps. So when you open Twitter on a foldable phone or a tablet, it looks ridiculous because like one or two tweets will take up the entire screen because it's not optimized. So Google is well aware of this because Google refuses to let Twitter open full screen. When you open up Twitter, you see it is always in a smaller window, and you can actually move the window between 3 positions. This, however, it's like a band-aid. It's not a fix. It looks kind of awkward that when you open apps, it just kind of, takes up one corner of the screen. Like Instagram's the same way because Instagram also looks ridiculous if it's stretched out. So this is something that hopefully it's up to the app developers to fix. But I do like that Google is aware of this problem and just forcing Instagram and Twitter to open in a smaller window, knowing that if it opens all the way across, it looks ridiculous. One way to alleviate the problem a little bit is to switch orientation. And this way, Twitter will open full and it still kind of looks okay because this is a longer screen. Likewise with Instagram, you will still get pillar boxing, but at least, it's taking out more of the screen. So when you look at Instagram stories, oh shit, okay. Okay, so let me switch to another story, man. Okay. So then when you look at Instagram stories, at least it fills up most of the screen, But what I like about this method is it allows you to very easily split screen with Instagram and another app like WhatsApp or Twitter or Chrome. So I'm somewhat of an Instagram addict. I love scrolling on Instagram, looking at pictures and stuff. And I like that I can have Instagram on the side while I'm still like doing work. Maybe I'm reading like a spec sheet or a press release here and I have Instagram here. A lot of other foldable phones right now do not let us split screen Instagram, including the Huawei Mate X3. I can't do that. And obviously the Mate X3 is not that optimized for these Western apps. When I open Twitter, see it opens up across and it looks ridiculous. Like one tweet right here took up the entire screen. But what the Mate X3 and the Fold 4 and other foldables let you do is you can open apps in a smaller, resizable, floating window. I really like this form of multitasking, and it's unfortunate that the Pixel Fold does not let us do that. But for the most part, if I have to give a grade to the multitasking right now, I would say B+. It's definitely pretty usable. I love running two apps side by side, and I like that the wider shape, I can bend the phone a little bit. It feels like I'm holding a book with two apps on each half of the screen. It looks great. With that said, there's still some flaws in the software optimization. So for example, I have the Google Calendar widget right here, and when the phone's in folded form, I can see all my events directly on the widget. But when the phone is unfolded, this widget now no longer shows all the events. Suddenly, I can't see what's happening on the 14th. I have to tap into it to open up the app just to be able to see the event. And that defeats the purpose of having a widget. And if you're wondering, is it because I'm making the widget a little bit narrow? No, I tried to spread it across the entire half of the screen and it still would not show. So this is like a scaling issue. So next up, let's talk about the cameras. I was very excited about the Pixel Fold because this would be a foldable phone with Google's cameras, which is inarguably one of the top 2 or 3 cameras on the market. Like if you ask me at any given time what the best camera phones are, the Pixel is usually in the top 3, if not number 2 or number 1. I'm happy to report that most of that awesome Google image processing carries over here, but unfortunately the hardware here is actually pretty weak. Don't be fooled by the fact that this is a periscope zoom lens. This periscope zoom lens seems very weak. Like Google didn't really release official specs like sensor size, but I'm guessing the sensor size is very small because the 10 times zoom shots captured by Pixel Fold, it's no better than the 10 times zoom shots captured by the Galaxy Z Fold 4, and the Z Fold 4 does not have a periscope zoom lens. So this is a 3 times telephoto zoom lens, but somehow its 10 times digital zoom is almost as good, if not as good, as the 10 times zoom here, and there's supposedly a 5 times periscope zoom lens. But with that said, I think the zoom photos are still respectable, pretty good for foldable phones. They just can't compete with the Huawei Mate X3, which has a proper periscope zoom lens, or the first Vivo X Fold, which has a really good zoom lens too. But the main camera here captures really good photos. I'm a big fan of Google's color science, and I think dynamic range is always on point. That's thanks to Tensor G2's image processing. However, the hardware is also, again, pretty weak. The image sensor size of the main camera is just a 1/2-inch sensor. That is tiny compared to any other slap phone cameras, and also the main camera of the Mate X3 and the Fold 4. That means when you capture photos, if you actually zoom in the pixel peak, the pixel's photo is very soft on details and noisy because the image sensor size just isn't that large. But if you're taking photos to just post on Instagram, it's perfectly fine. Like when I'm looking at the photos on the phone screen, they look nice. But when I'm pixel peeping and comparing against the photos captured by the Mate X3 or the Fold 4, then the pixel's image is the noisiest. But I don't want to sound like I'm too harsh on the cameras here, because I would say the camera performance of the Pixel Fold, it's like on par with like the Pixel 7a, but with a little bit better zoom. So that's still a very good camera. It's just not as good as the Pixel 7 Pro, which is one of the very best cameras right now, or the Xiaomi 13 Ultra with that 1-inch sensor. Image sensor size matters a lot, okay? There's no software algorithm that can overcome such drastic differences in image sensor size. So I'm hoping in the future, foldable phones can give us larger image sensor. Another thing I'm happy to report is that battery life has been really good with the Pixel Fold. I've been heavily using this phone all day. It's 3 p.m. right now. I've been up since like 8 a.m. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. It's like 6-7 hours and I'm still at 64% battery. And this is with heavy use. So overall, I'm quite happy with the Pixel Fold so far. The screen looks much better than I expected. And I like how this phone feels and operates when it's unfolded. When it's folded, I do find it a little bit too wide. I do like the Mate X3's form factor a little bit better in folded form, because this feels like a normal phone. But overall, I like the Pixel Fold because you add in the Google specific software stuff, like the fact that it has the best in class voice dictation. You have access to like, you can, summon Google to type words for you and stuff like Magic Eraser. Is very fun to play with. The Huawei Mate X3, the hardware is impeccable, but I am not a fan of the software. And I'm not even talking about that Google stuff. Even if this phone had Google, EMUI Huawei's software skin is just like outdated. There's no app tray. And then the app icon's a little bit too big. It's just a little bit weird. So yeah, that's about it for this early impressions of the Pixel Fold and how it compares against other foldable phones. I think for a very first attempt, this is impressive, considering Google does not have a good track record when it comes to making hardware. Do you remember the first Google Pixel? That thing looked so outdated compared to other phones out on the market at the time. But the Pixel Fold actually holds its own. And in the US, when its only other competition is Samsung right now, this thing looks great. So that's about it for this quick impressions video on the Pixel Fold. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel. It will help me a lot. Thanks for watching.